My brother fired me in front of 200 people at his CEO inauguration party. Not quietly, not privately, not with severance and a handshake. On stage. Microphone. Spotlight. While jazz music played softly in the background and champagne bubbled in crystal glasses. Effective immediately, he said, looking directly at me in the back row. Your role as chief operating officer is being eliminated. Dead silence. 200 people, employees, clients, press, family, turned to stare. I stood up, walked toward the stage while everyone watched. My brother gripped the microphone tighter. I said effective immediately. I walked past him, straight to my parents' table at the front, leaned down between them, spoke quietly. Tell the board of directors there's a meeting in 3 hours. Conference room. Mandatory attendance. My father's eyes widened. My mother looked confused. My brother's voice cracked through the microphone. What are you talking about? I turned to face him. Emergency board meeting, 3 hours. You should probably be there. I'm the CEO, and the board oversees the CEO. See you at 10:30. I walked out of the ballroom while 200 people sat in stunned silence. My brother tried to continue his speech, but the damage was done. The inauguration party he'd planned like a royal coronation was officially ruined, and he had no idea what was about to hit him. Let me back up, give you the 60-second version of how we got here. Our grandfather started the company in 1965, manufacturing, industrial parts. Dad took over in 1995, grew it to $50 million. 2 sons, my brother and me. My brother, 3 years older, charismatic, natural salesman, Dad's favorite. He joined the company at 22, worked in sales, became VP, then Chief Revenue Officer. The face of the business. Awards, recognition, client dinners, the whole thing. Me. Joined at 20, went into operations and finance. The back end. Not glamorous, but essential. COO, then CFO. Restructured our entire supply chain, saved $12 million, tripled profit margins. Nobody outside the company knew my name, but the company ran because of what I built. For 15 years, we worked together. He got the spotlight. I got the results. 3 years ago, Dad announced his retirement. Named my brother as the next CEO. Everyone applauded. I clapped quietly in the back. Nobody asked what I thought. 3 years of transition. My brother shadowed Dad, learned the vision, focused on culture and public image. I kept running operations, finance, strategy, the actual business. Last week, my brother called me into his office. I'm making changes when I take over, he said. Okay. Big changes, restructuring leadership. Okay. You've been COO for 10 years. That's too long. I need my own team. I didn't respond. So I'm letting you go. I'll announce it Friday, at the inauguration. In front of everyone? Clean slate, new era. Okay. He looked surprised. That's it? No argument? Nope. I thought you'd make this difficult. I stood up and walked out. He thought I accepted it. Thought I was rolling over. Thought I understood my place in his new regime. He was wrong. Friday night. 7 p.m. Hotel ballroom transformed into what can only be described as a corporate wedding. White drapes, uplighting, jazz quartet, ice sculptures shaped like our company logo. 200 people in suits and cocktail dresses. Employees nervous about their jobs. Clients wondering what changes were coming. Press taking notes. Family beaming with pride. My brother at the center of it all, shaking hands, giving quotes, playing the role he'd been rehearsing for 3 years. I sat in the back row, quiet, watching. At 8:30, the lights dimmed. A video montage played on screens. My brother's journey through the company. Sales wins, client testimonials, Dad passing him the torch. Inspirational music. Not a single mention of operations, finance, or the $12 million I'd saved. Then he took the stage. Microphone in hand, spotlight on his face. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is truly a dream come true. Applause, genuine and polite. I've spent 15 years learning this business from the best. My father, our incredible clients, and this amazing team. More applause. He was good at this part. Always had been. Tonight, as I officially step into the role of CEO, I'm committed to taking this company to new heights, to innovating, to growing, to building something even greater than what my father created. Cheers. People were into it. He had them. But to do that, his tone shifted. I need to make some difficult decisions. The room got quieter. People shifted in their seats. I need a leadership team that's completely aligned with my vision for the future. Uncomfortable silence. Employees exchanged glances. So effective immediately, I'm restructuring the C-suite. He looked directly at me in the back row. My brother has served as chief operating officer for 10 years, and I'm grateful for his contributions. Past tense. Contributions. People knew what was coming. But effective tonight, that role is being eliminated. Thank you for your service. He said it like he was reading a script. Rehearsed, clean, final. The room went completely silent. You could hear the ice sculptures melting. People turned to stare at me. Some looked shocked. Some looked uncomfortable. A few looked vindicated. My brother had his allies, people who thought I was too controlling, too involved in decisions that should be the CEO's. I stood up slowly. Every eye in the room followed me. My brother's grip on the microphone tightened. His smile stayed fixed, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. He expected me to leave quietly, to take the humiliation and disappear. I started walking, not toward the exit, toward the stage. Whispers erupted. My brother's smile faltered. I said effective tonight, he started. I walked past the stage without looking at him. Walked straight to the head table where my parents sat with my uncle and aunt. My mother's face was pale. My father looked like he was holding his breath. I leaned down between them. Spoke quietly enough that the microphone wouldn't catch it. Tell the board of directors there's an emergency meeting in 3 hours. 10:30 p.m. conference room. Mandatory attendance for all board members. My father's eyes went wide. Recognition, understanding, maybe a little fear. My mother looked confused. What board meeting? Honey, what are you? 3 hours, I repeated. Then I stood up and turned to face my brother on stage. He was frozen, microphone hanging loose in his hand, smile completely gone. I raised my voice. Not shouting. Just clear. Emergency board meeting, 10:30 tonight. You should probably attend. What? He tried to laugh it off. What are you talking about? I'm the CEO, and the board oversees the CEO, company bylaws, page 47. Dead silence in the ballroom. People were recording this on their phones now. I don't need board approval to... Actually, you do. All C-suite changes require majority board vote. It's in the founding documents. You'd know that if you'd read them. His face went red. This is my inauguration. See you at 10:30. I turned and walked out. Not rushed, not angry, just calm. Behind me, chaos erupted. Whispers, gasps, phones buzzing. My brother trying to salvage his speech. Someone turning the music back on too loud. I walked through the hotel lobby, got in my car and drove home. Didn't rush, didn't panic, just drove. Because I'd been preparing for this moment for 8 years. What my brother didn't know, what nobody except the board members knew, was that I wasn't just the COO. I was on the board of directors, had been for 8 years, since I restructured the entire financial system and saved the company $12 million. Dad appointed me. Unanimous vote. My brother never asked about it. Never wondered why I was in certain meetings. Never questioned why major decisions waited for board approval. He assumed CEO meant ultimate power. It doesn't. The board had 5 members: Dad, Mom, my uncle, and 2 external advisors from the industry. And me. My brother wasn't on the board. Didn't have a seat. Didn't have a vote. He had a title. I had actual power. And he was about to learn the difference. I got home at 9 p.m., changed out of my suit, made coffee, pulled up the company bylaws on my laptop. Not because I needed to review them. I'd memorized the relevant sections years ago, but because I wanted the printed copies ready. My phone started buzzing. Texts from employees asking what just happened. Calls from my uncle asking if I was serious about the board meeting. A voicemail from my mother asking me to please not do this tonight. I ignored them all. At 10 p.m., I drove back to the office. The building was mostly dark except for the executive floor. I took the elevator up, walked to the conference room, turned on the lights, set out folders at each seat, company bylaws, share distribution documents, board meeting protocols. At 10:15, my uncle arrived. Is this really necessary? Tonight? Yes. He's your brother. And he just fired me in front of 200 people without checking if he legally could. My uncle sighed. Sat down. 10:20. The two external board members arrived together. Both older men, industry veterans who'd watched me rebuild this company's operations from the ground up. They nodded at me, took their seats. 10:25. My mother arrived looking tired and worried. Sat next to my uncle. Didn't say anything. 10:28. My father walked in, made eye contact with me. Something in his expression, respect, maybe, or resignation. 10:30, exactly. My brother burst through the door. He was still in his inauguration suit, but his tie was loosened, his hair slightly messed up. He looked panicked, angry, confused. What the hell is this? I gestured to the empty chair at the table. Board meeting, have a seat. I don't understand what's happening. Sit down. He looked around the table, at Dad, at Mom, at Uncle, at the two external members he'd probably only met a handful of times. Why are they all here? They're the board of directors. I know that, but why are you running the meeting? Because I'm on the board. Have been for 8 years. He blinked. Looked at Dad. What? Dad's voice was quiet. He's been a board member since 2016 when he restructured our finances. And nobody told me? You never asked. My brother's face went through several expressions. Confusion, disbelief, anger, finally landing on defensive. Fine, I'm here. What's this about? I sat down at the head of the table, opened my folder. This emergency meeting has been called to address your decision tonight to terminate the chief operating officer without board approval. I don't need board approval to fire someone. Actually, you do. I slid a document across the table. Company bylaws, page 47, section 12. All executive leadership changes at the C-suite level require majority board approval. He grabbed the paper, read it. His face went pale. This says, I can't make personnel changes? You can make personnel changes, but firing a C-suite executive requires a board vote. That's insane. That's the law. Well, not law, but company policy, which is legally binding. He looked around the table again. Nobody was meeting his eyes except me. So what? You're going to block me from running my own company? It's not your company, but we'll get to that. I'm the CEO. Yes, and the board oversees the CEO. That's how corporate governance works. My brother slammed his hand on the table. This is bullshit. Is there a motion on the floor? I asked calmly. What? You wanted to fire the COO. That requires a vote, so let's vote. He stared at me. You're serious. Completely. I looked around the table. Motion. Terminate the chief operating officer, effective immediately. All in favor? My brother raised his hand, looked around, waited. Nobody else moved. All opposed? I raised my hand. So did Dad, Mom, Uncle, both external members. 5-1, motion fails. My brother's mouth opened. Nothing came out. The COO position remains filled. Meeting adjourned? Wait, his voice cracked. That's it? That's it. You're just blocking me? I'm following company policy, which you would know if you'd spent the last 3 years learning how the business actually works instead of planning your inauguration party. That landed. Hard. He looked at Dad. You knew about this? Dad nodded slowly. And you're voting against me? Your own son? I'm voting for what's best for the company. That's my job as a board member. My brother stood up so fast his chair fell backward. This is unbelievable. I'm the CEO. I should be able to... You're the CEO, I interrupted. Not a dictator, not the sole owner. You have a job, so do I. And the board makes sure we both do them properly. He pointed at me. This isn't over. Actually, it is. The vote happened. You lost. That's how boards work. He looked like he wanted to say something else. Instead, he turned and stormed out. The door slammed behind him. The room was silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Finally, my uncle spoke. That was brutal. He fired me on stage in front of 200 people. Fair point. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was anxious, because I was waiting. My brother was predictable. Always had been. And I knew exactly what he'd do next. At 6:30 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello. This is Richard Morrison from Morrison & Associates. I represent your brother. We need to discuss last night's board meeting. A lawyer called it. There's nothing to discuss. The vote happened. It's done. My client believes there were procedural irregularities. There weren't. The meeting was called according to bylaws. All board members attended. The vote was recorded. Your client lost. He's the CEO, and the board oversees the CEO. Tell him to read page 47. Have a good day. I hung up. 30 seconds later, my brother called directly. You can't do this. Good morning to you too. I hired a lawyer. He says I have grounds to challenge. He's billing you to tell you what you want to hear. You don't have grounds. You have a tantrum. I'm the CEO of a $50 million company. Then act like it. Read the bylaws. Learn how the business works. Show up to board meetings prepared. Board meetings I wasn't even on. You never asked to be on the board. Never questioned how corporate governance worked. You just assumed the title gave you absolute power. Silence on his end. Then, how long have you been on the board? 8 years. 8 years? And nobody told me? You never asked. Not once in 8 years did you ask how board decisions were made or who had voting power. Because I was focused on actually running the business. You were focused on being seen running the business. There's a difference. He hung up. I made coffee and waited for round 2. It came at 10 a.m. My phone buzzed with a calendar invite. Emergency shareholder meeting. Today, 2 p.m. I called my father. Did you approve this? No, your brother sent it. He's demanding a shareholder meeting to address last night's irregularities. There were no irregularities. I know. But he's within his rights to call a shareholder meeting. That's different from a board meeting. I thought about it. Who are the shareholders? You don't know? I know the board structure, but we've never had a shareholder meeting. Not in the 15 years I've been here. Dad was quiet for a moment. Come to my house, 1 p.m. Before this meeting happens, you need to see something. I drove to my parents' house at 12:30. Mom answered the door, looking exhausted. He called us at midnight, she said, screaming about betrayal and conspiracies. I haven't seen him this upset since high school when he didn't make varsity captain. Dad was in his office. He had documents spread across his desk. Sit down. I sat. He slid a folder across the desk. Share distribution, the actual ownership of the company. I opened it. Looked at the numbers. Felt my stomach drop. Share distribution. Dad, 40%. Mom, 20%. Me, 25%. Uncle, 10%. Brother, 5%. I own 25%? Dad nodded. And he owns 5? Yes. How? When did this happen? Gradually, over the last 10 years. Every time you hit a major milestone, restructuring finances, landing the Meridian contract, expanding the manufacturing facility, I transferred shares to you, 1 to 3% at a time. Does he know? I told him 3 years ago when I announced him as CEO. He said, "That's great, Dad," and changed the subject. I don't think he processed what it meant. He thought CEO meant ownership. He thought CEO meant power. You understand the difference? I looked at the numbers again. My brother owned 5%. Less than our uncle. Less than a quarter of what I owned. Why didn't you give him more? Dad's expression hardened. Because shares represent contribution. You built the financial systems. You restructured operations. You saved this company $12 million. He landed clients and gave speeches. Both are valuable. But one builds equity. The other builds reputation. He's going to lose his mind when he sees this. He's about to. The shareholder meeting happened in the main conference room. Bigger than the boardroom. Windows overlooking the manufacturing floor. My brother sat at the head of the table, lawyer next to him, mom and dad on one side, uncle on the other, me at the far end, nobody else. Because these were the only 5 shareholders. My brother started immediately. I've called this meeting because last night's board meeting was a mockery of corporate governance. Point of order, Dad interrupted. Before we address grievances, we need to establish voting power for this meeting. My brother looked confused. What? Shareholder meetings are different from board meetings. Votes are weighted by ownership percentage, not one person, one vote. Fine, whatever. Let's vote on. Dad slid the share distribution document into the center of the table. My brother picked it up, started reading. His face went pale, then red, then pale again. This says I own 5%. Correct? 5%? Yes. And he, pointing at me, owns 25? Yes. My brother stood up so fast his chair rolled backward and hit the wall. How is that possible? I distributed shares based on contribution to company value over the past 15 years. I've been here 15 years. In sales, in client relations, important roles. But you didn't restructure finances, didn't rebuild operations, didn't save us $12 million. My brother's lawyer cleared his throat. Mr. Morrison, perhaps we should discuss. Shut up. My brother was shaking. You gave him 5 times what you gave me? I gave you CEO. I gave him equity, different forms of compensation. I'm your son. So is he. That landed like a slap. My brother actually stepped backward. Mom spoke quietly. Sweetheart, we didn't do this to hurt you. You gave him the company, my brother's voice cracked. You made me CEO but gave him the actual ownership. 25% isn't majority ownership, I said calmly. He spun toward me. Don't you dare act reasonable right now. I'm just stating facts. Dad owns 40%. He has majority control. I have the second largest stake. You have the smallest. Because you manipulated him. I earned it, year by year, project by project. While you were taking clients to golf courses, I was rebuilding systems that actually made money. My brother looked at his lawyer. Can I challenge this? Is this legal? The lawyer looked uncomfortable. If the shares were transferred legally with proper documentation, they were, Dad said. Every transfer documented, filed, legal. My brother sat down slowly, stared at the table. So that's it? I'm CEO, but I own nothing? You own 5% of a $50 million company, Dad said. That's $2.5 million in equity, not nothing. Compared to his $12.5 million, it's scraps. It's what you earned. The words hung in the air. Brutal. True. My brother looked at me. Did you know about the shares? Not the exact percentages, not until an hour ago. But you knew you had more than me. I suspected. And you never thought to mention it? Would you have listened? He didn't answer. The meeting ended without a vote. There was nothing to vote on. My brother's grievance was that the board overruled him. But the board had acted legally. And now he knew why. Because the people with actual ownership sat on the board. He wasn't one of them. After everyone left, my brother stayed in the conference room. Staring out the window at the manufacturing floor, I started to leave. Stopped. For what it's worth, I said, I didn't want this to be ugly. But you knew it would be. I knew you'd try to fire me without checking if you could. Yeah. You could have warned me. You could have asked. In 3 years of transition, you could have asked one question about bylaws, or board structure, or share distribution. You didn't. He turned to face me. Because I trusted Dad. I trusted this family. I thought being named CEO meant something. It does mean something. It means you're the public face, the vision, the leader people see. That's not nothing. But you have the power. I have equity. Dad has control. There's a difference. Feels the same from where I'm standing. I walked to the window next to him, looked down at the floor. 200 employees working, building, creating value. You wanted to fire me last night, I said, in front of 200 people. No warning, no conversation, just public execution. Why? Because I wanted my own team. No. You wanted to prove you were in charge. You wanted everyone to see that you didn't need me anymore. He didn't deny it. The problem, I continued, is that you do need me, and I need you. Sales and operations, vision and execution. That's how this company works. It's how it's always worked. But you have more power. I have more equity, because I earned it. You can earn it too. How? By waiting another 15 years? By learning the business, actually learning it. Finance, operations, strategy. Not just the fun parts, the boring, difficult, essential parts. My brother was quiet for a long moment. What if I can't? It was the first honest thing he'd said all day. Then you're a CEO who needs a strong COO. There's no shame in that. Most CEOs do. But the shares are what they are, for now. Dad still controls 40%. He makes the final decisions. Work with him. Prove you can lead without trying to eliminate everyone who threatens you. Maybe things change. You really think that? I think Dad gave you CEO because he believes you can grow into it. But last night, you proved you're not ready yet. He flinched. But he didn't argue. I left him there, staring out at the company he was supposed to run but didn't really own. That night, my phone buzzed with a text from my uncle. Your brother called me, wants to meet tomorrow. Asked if I'd consider forming an alliance to outvote you and your dad. I stared at the message, called my uncle. What did you say? I said I'd think about it. But I'm telling you now, I won't. He's trying to turn this into a war. Let him meet with you, hear him out, see what he's planning. Why? Because I need to know if he's going to keep fighting or if he's going to learn. And if he keeps fighting, then the board will keep blocking him until he quits or figures it out. My uncle was quiet. You're really willing to go that far? He fired me in front of 200 people. Yeah, I'm willing. After we hung up, I sat on my couch in the dark. My phone buzzed again. This time, my father. He's not handling this well. I know. He called his lawyer again, threatened to sue for emotional distress or some nonsense. The lawyer will tell him he has no case. Probably, but he's desperate, and desperate people do stupid things. Like what? Dad was quiet for a moment. Like talking to our competitors, or trying to sell his 5% to outside investors, or leaking this mess to the press. He wouldn't. Wouldn't he? He just tried to fire you on stage at his own inauguration party. I don't know what he's capable of anymore. Neither did I. My uncle called me at 7 a.m. the next morning. He offered me $15,000. What? Your brother. He wants to buy my vote. Offered me 15 grand cash to side with him at the next board meeting. I sat up in bed. What did you say? I told him board votes can't be purchased. He said everything can be purchased if the price is right. He's desperate. He's delusional. He thinks because he's CEO, people should just follow him. Doesn't understand that respect is earned, not titled. Did he say what he's planning? He wants to call another board meeting, force a vote to remove you as COO permanently. Thinks if he keeps pushing, eventually someone will break. Nobody's going to break. I know, but he doesn't believe that yet. After we hung up, I texted my father. We need to talk, today. He responded immediately. Come to the office, 9 a.m. Bring coffee. Dad's office looked like a crime scene. Papers everywhere, coffee cups, his reading glasses bent on the desk. He called me 6 times last night, Dad said without greeting. Left voicemails, texts. One email that was just question marks, 27 of them. He's spiraling. He's trying to find an angle, any angle. Dad handed me a document. This came this morning, from an investment firm in Seattle. I read it. Felt my chest tighten. He's trying to sell his 5%? Trying to find a buyer. That firm specializes in acquisitions. If they buy his stake, they get a seat at the table, a voice in company decisions. Can he do that? Legally, yes. The shares are his. He can sell them. But the bylaws give existing shareholders first right of refusal. We'd have to decline before an outside buyer could purchase. Would you decline? Dad looked tired. Older than I'd ever seen him. I don't want outside investors. This is a family company. Has been for 60 years. But if he's determined to sell, I can't stop him forever. So what do? We wait. Let him make his moves. See how far he's willing to go. And if he goes too far? Dad didn't answer. 2 days later, I got a call from Marcus Chen, our biggest client. CEO of a tech manufacturing firm that accounted for 18% of our annual revenue. I need to ask you something, Marcus said, and I need you to be straight with me. Always. Is your company having internal problems? Leadership issues? My stomach dropped. Why do you ask? Because I got a call yesterday from someone claiming to be an industry analyst. Asked questions about our relationship with your company. Whether we were concerned about instability in executive leadership. Very specific questions. What did you tell them? I told them we've worked with you for 8 years and have zero concerns, but it made me uncomfortable. Then this morning, I saw something. He sent me a link. I opened it. Industry blog. Small publication, but read by everyone in our sector. Headline: Leadership turmoil at Morrison Manufacturing? Sources say CEO and COO at odds. The article was vague. Anonymous sources. Speculation. But it mentioned the inauguration party. Mentioned public confrontation and emergency board meeting. Got enough details right to be credible. Did you leak this? Marcus asked. No. Then who did? I knew exactly who. I'll handle it. Handle it fast, because if I'm getting calls, other clients are too, and nobody wants to partner with a company that's imploding. After Marcus hung up, I forwarded the article to Dad with one word: him. Dad called immediately. He leaked to the press? Has to be. Nobody else knows these details. This could destroy us. Clients will panic. Competitors will circle. Banks might reconsider our credit lines. So what do? Emergency meeting. All employees. Tomorrow morning. We address this head-on before it spreads. The all-hands meeting was scheduled for 9 a.m. in the main warehouse. Every employee, 230 people, gathered around the shipping floor. My brother stood off to the side with 2 of his sales team guys, arms crossed, defiant. Dad took the microphone. No podium, no notes, just him. I'm sure many of you have seen or heard rumors about leadership changes, about conflicts between executives. I'm here to address that directly. The room was silent. People pulled out phones, started recording. 2 weeks ago, at the CEO inauguration, there was a public disagreement about personnel decisions. It was handled poorly. Emotions ran high. Things were said that shouldn't have been said in that setting. He looked directly at my brother. My brother looked away. Since then, there have been meetings, discussions, decisions made according to company policy and bylaws. Some people are unhappy with those decisions. That's understandable. But what's not acceptable is taking internal disagreements public. Dad held up a printout of the industry blog article. This article appeared yesterday. It contains information that could only have come from someone inside this company. Someone who prioritized their personal grievance over the well-being of 230 employees who depend on this business. Murmurs through the crowd. People looking around, trying to figure out who leaked. I want to be clear about something, Dad continued. This company has survived 60 years because we solve problems internally, because we put the business first, because we understand that when leadership fights publicly, everyone suffers. He paused. Let that sink in. So here's what's going to happen. Your CEO, he gestured to my brother, will continue leading sales, client relations, and public-facing operations. Your COO, he gestured to me, will continue leading operations, finance, and internal strategy. They will work together. They will communicate. They will put this company first. And if they can't, someone called from the back. Dad's voice hardened. Then the board of directors will make changes, because this company is bigger than any one person, including me, including my sons. The room went completely quiet. Dad looked at my brother. Do you have anything to add? My brother stepped forward, took the microphone. His hand was shaking slightly. I want to apologize to everyone. The inauguration was supposed to be a celebration. I made it about ego, about power, and I'm sorry. It sounded rehearsed, but at least he said it. I'm learning, he continued. Learning that being CEO doesn't mean having all the answers. It means surrounding yourself with people who do. And my brother, he looked at me, is one of those people. He handed the microphone back to Dad and walked away. People clapped. Uncertain, awkward applause. But it was something. After everyone dispersed, I found Dad in his office. That was risky, calling him out publicly. He needed to be called out, and everyone needed to see that actions have consequences. Do you think he learned anything? Dad looked at me. Do you? I thought about my brother's apology, the shake in his hand, the way he couldn't meet my eyes. I think he's scared. Good. Fear is a teacher. Maybe it'll teach him what success couldn't. That night, I got a text from my brother. Can we talk? Just us. No lawyers, no board, no dad. I stared at it for a long time. Finally typed, tomorrow, coffee shop on 5th, 7 a.m. I'll be there. He was already sitting at a corner table when I arrived. 2 coffees waiting. He'd ordered my usual, black, no sugar. I sat down, didn't say anything. Thank you for coming, he said. You leaked to the press. I was angry. I wasn't thinking. You leaked to the press, I repeated. Put 200 jobs at risk because you were embarrassed. He looked down. I know. Marcus Chen called me, our biggest client, asked if the company was imploding. I had to reassure him we weren't falling apart. Because of you. I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you sorry you got caught? He was quiet. Then, both, probably. At least he was honest. What do you want? I asked. I want to understand why Dad gave you so much more. 25% versus 5. It's not just about money. It's about what it means. That he values you 5 times more than me. It's not about value. Yes, it is. You know it is. He gave you equity based on contribution, which means he thinks I contributed 1/5 of what you did. You contributed differently. Sales, relationships, vision. But not results. Not the things that actually matter. I sipped my coffee. Do you know why I restructured the financial systems 10 years ago? Because they were broken? Because I asked Dad to let me try. I came to him with a plan, pages of analysis, projections, risk assessments. He said yes because I did the work to prove it was worth trying. And I never did that. You never had to. You were good at what you did. But good at sales doesn't build equity. Building systems does. Creating value does. My brother rubbed his face. I don't know how to do that. Then learn. I'm 35. You've been doing this since you were 20. So? You think I knew what I was doing at 20? I figured it out. Made mistakes. Fixed them. Learned. But you had Dad's confidence. I earned it. By showing up. By doing work nobody else wanted to do. By caring more about results than recognition. He looked at me. I've spent 15 years trying to be the favorite son. And you spent 15 years just being better. It was the most self-aware thing I'd ever heard him say. So what now? I asked. I don't know. Keep being CEO? Try to learn what you know? Hope Dad eventually gives me more equity? Or accept that we have different roles, and both are necessary. But you have more power. I have more equity. Dad still has control, and you're still CEO. People still look to you for leadership. That's not nothing. He nodded slowly. The all-hands meeting, when Dad called me out, that was humiliating. You humiliated yourself. He just made sure everyone saw it. Harsh. True. We sat in silence. Outside, the city was waking up. Cars passing. People heading to work. Normal life continuing while we sat in a coffee shop trying to figure out how to be brothers and colleagues and competitors and allies all at once. I'm not going to try to buy Uncle's vote anymore, he said finally. Good. Or leak to the press, or hire lawyers, or fight this. Also good. But I'm also not going to pretend I'm okay with it. With the shares. With the power dynamic. I don't expect you to be. So we just… What? Work together while resenting each other? We work together professionally. And maybe, eventually, we figure out the brother part. He finished his coffee. Okay. Okay? Yeah. Okay. He stood up, extended his hand. I shook it. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a resolution. But it was something. 6 months passed. We worked together, professionally. My brother handled clients and vision. I handled operations and numbers. We didn't grab coffee or talk about anything personal. But we showed up, did our jobs, kept the company running. Revenue was up 11%. 2 major contracts signed. Employee retention at 94%. From the outside, everything looked fine. Then I got the email. Subject: Mandatory shareholder meeting. Friday 2 p.m. My brother had scheduled another shareholder meeting. No warning, no agenda attached. I called Dad. Did you approve this? No, but he's within his rights. Any shareholder can call a meeting with 48 hours notice. What's he planning? I don't know, but he hired a new lawyer, corporate litigation specialist from San Francisco. Expensive. Friday at 2 p.m. we gathered in the conference room. Same 5 shareholders. But this time, my brother brought his lawyer, a woman in her 50s with silver hair and a briefcase that probably cost more than my car. This is Rebecca Thornton, my brother said. She specializes in corporate governance disputes. Dad's expression hardened. This is a shareholder meeting, not a trial. It's both, Rebecca said smoothly. My client believes there have been systematic violations of fiduciary duty by certain board members. We're here to address those violations. I leaned back. This should be interesting. My brother slid documents across the table. Over the past 6 months, major decisions have been made without proper shareholder approval. Contracts signed, capital expenditures approved, all done by the board without full shareholder vote. The board is authorized to make operational decisions, I said calmly. That's in the bylaws. Decisions up to $500,000, Rebecca interrupted. Anything above requires shareholder approval. You signed a $750,000 equipment lease last month. I looked at Dad. He looked surprised. That lease was approved by the board, I said, but not by shareholders, which means it violated company policy, which means, she looked at my brother, the board overstepped its authority. My uncle spoke up. This is a technicality. This is the law, Rebecca said, and there are 12 other examples over the past 6 months. 12 times the board made decisions that should have gone to shareholders. My brother looked at me. You've been running this company like you own it. But you don't. Not majority. We all have a say. So what do you want? Dad asked. A vote, my brother said. To restructure board authority. To require shareholder approval for all major decisions. And to add 2 new board members, external advisors who actually understand corporate governance. And I suppose you've already picked these advisors? I asked. I have. Both are respected business consultants. Both are neutral parties. Both are people you've vetted to vote your way, I said. That's not… It is exactly that. You're trying to stack the board because you can't win votes the current way, Rebecca cut in. Mr. Morrison, my client isn't trying to stack anything. He's trying to ensure proper oversight. The current board structure gives you and your father combined 65% voting power. That's not oversight. That's control. She wasn't wrong. Dad and I together could outvote everyone. I'm calling for a vote, my brother said, to accept these new board members and restructure authority. All in favor? He raised his hand. I waited. Watched the table. My uncle hesitated. Looked at Dad. Didn't raise his hand. The 2 external board members exchanged glances. Then one of them raised his hand. Then the other. My stomach dropped. That's 3 votes, Rebecca said. All opposed? I raised my hand. So did Dad. 2 opposed. Mr. Harrison? She looked at my uncle. You haven't voted. My uncle looked at me, then at my brother, then at Dad. I abstain. Abstentions count as present but not voting, Rebecca said smoothly, which means the motion passes 3-2. Wait, Dad said. Those board members are within their rights to vote according to their judgment, Rebecca interrupted. They believe additional oversight is in the company's best interest. I looked at the 2 external members. Both avoided eye contact. My brother had gotten to them. Somehow. Promised them something. Or threatened them. Or just convinced them he was right. The motion passes, Rebecca declared. The board will expand to include 2 additional members, and all expenditures over $250,000 will require shareholder approval. My brother smiled. Finally, I stood up. This meeting is adjourned. Actually, Rebecca said, there's one more item. My client is also calling for a vote on the current COO position. Given the violations of authority— No, Dad interrupted, his voice sharp. Final. Everyone turned. You don't get to do this, Dad said to my brother. You don't get to use technicalities and lawyers to tear down what we've built. I'm protecting the company. You're protecting your ego. Dad slammed his hand on the table. 6 months ago, you tried to fire him on stage. When that failed, you tried to buy votes. When that failed, you leaked to the press. And now you're trying to manipulate board structure because you can't accept that you're not in control. I'm the CEO, and you've proven you're not ready for it. The room went silent. Dad stood up. I'm calling a vote. Right now. Confidence in current leadership. All in favor of maintaining current CEO and COO structure? I raised my hand. So did Dad. So did my uncle. 3 in favor, Dad said. All opposed? My brother raised his hand. So did the 2 external members. 3 opposed. It was a tie. Rebecca leaned forward. In the event of a tie, the largest shareholder breaks the deadlock. That's you, Mr. Morrison. How do you vote? Dad looked at my brother, then at me. I vote to maintain current structure. The motion passes. This meeting is adjourned. My brother stood up so fast his chair fell. You just chose him over me. I chose what's best for the company. I'm your son. So is he, Dad's voice cracked. And I'm tired of pretending that title matters more than results. I gave you CEO. I gave you every opportunity to prove yourself. And you've spent 6 months fighting instead of leading. My brother's face went pale. Then I quit. The room froze. What? Mom whispered. I quit. CEO, board, all of it. I'm done. He looked at Rebecca. Draw up the paperwork to sell my 5%. I want out. Son, Dad started. Don't. My brother grabbed his jacket. You made your choice. I'm making mine. He walked out. Rebecca gathered her papers. I'll be in touch about the share transfer. After she left, the room sat in heavy silence. Finally, one of the external board members spoke. For what it's worth, he promised us consulting contracts if we voted with him. I figured, I said. We shouldn't have accepted. We'll resign from the board. No, Dad said. You'll stay, and you'll vote according to what's actually best for this company, or I'll replace you both. They nodded and left quickly. My uncle looked at Dad. Is he really gone? I think so. Mom started crying quietly. I walked to the window, watched my brother get in his car and drive away. Dad joined me. Did I do the right thing? Yes. He's going to hate me. Probably, but the company will survive. 3 weeks later, Rebecca called. My client has accepted an offer for his shares. $4.2 million. Sale closes next Friday. Who's buying? I asked. I'm not at liberty to say. But I found out 2 months later when the announcement went public. My brother had taken his $4 million and started a competing company. Same industry, same client base. Hired away 3 of our sales guys. He called it Morrison Solutions. Positioned it as the innovative alternative to our old-fashioned family business. Some clients were curious. A few took meetings. But when they asked who was handling operations, who built their systems, who actually delivered results, there were no good answers. My brother was good at sales, but sales without operations is just promises. By month 6, Morrison Solutions had landed 2 small contracts. We'd landed 8 major ones. By month 9, he'd burned through half his capital on overhead and salaries. By month 12, he was quietly reaching out to former colleagues asking about collaboration opportunities. I never responded. 2 years later, I'm sitting in Dad's old office. He retired for real this time. Made me CEO. The title I never asked for but earned anyway. My brother's company closed last month. Bankruptcy filing. Assets sold. He took a job with a competitor in another state. We haven't spoken since the shareholder meeting. Mom sends updates occasionally. He's doing okay, working, paying bills. Learned some humility, she says. Maybe. The company's doing better than ever. Revenue up 43% since I took over. Employee retention at 97%. 3 industry awards. But I don't think about that much. What I think about is the night my brother fired me in front of 200 people. How he thought the title gave him power. How he learned the hard way that power isn't given. It's built. One decision at a time. One system at a time. One result at a time. He wanted to run the company. I just wanted to build something that lasted. Turns out, only one of those things actually matters.